That was a very relevant question because I had not looked at the Bhartika. I was looking at kind of an explanatory text which was available in some other book. And he mentions Yoni Vargaha Kala Sariram. So that was the sutra number 3. Now, all these sutras are interrelated. The second sutra, the first sutra is Chaitanyam Atma. Somebody might ask this question: if Chaitanyam is Atma, why are we not realizing it, and why are we So, somebody might ask this question: why are we trapped in this samsara? Why don't we then experience that Chaitanya Atma? Therefore, he quickly gives that answer, that Jnanam Bandha. And there's a bit of a beautiful explanation in one of these commentaries, and I'll read that, and then we'll graduate to the verse number, the detailed, interpretation of the verse number 3. Now, the question is like this: Yadi chetana swarupasya samasta vishwasya anuttara tattva paramashiva rupam chaitanyam eva swabhava. If you look at this, where is jada and chetana or achetana, whatever you're looking at it, samasta vishwasya, all around us, whatever you see, anuttara tattva paramashiva rupam, anuttara, there is nothing beyond that, which is supreme, and that is its swarupa. Chaitanyam eva swabhavaha, that is the very essential nature of everything that we see. Vartate, if that is how it is, chet, tari, if then, so, katham ayam sansaratmako bandha iti sankam, then why are we trapped in the samsara? That particular question may emerge. It is sankam durikartum sanhita patham angikritya. Even if you do sanhita patha, then you don't give these commas and full stops. You go on reciting. So it will be Chaitanyam Atma Jnanam, Chaitanyam Atma Jnanam Bandha. So Atma, that sandhi will not be made. So it will be like two words read out as one word. Sanhita Patham Angikritya Athava Vivhagam Avalambya, or we can split it. Chaitanyam Atma is one sentence, and then Jnanam Bandha. There is another sutra. You can make it like this: Avalambya Akara Praslesha Dwara Sutramaha Jnanam Bandha. So either you split that into two sentences, or you can make it one. So the question which I think Sanatji was asking yesterday: why are we saying Jnanam Bandha? Why not Ajnanam Bandha? Yes, that's an alternative explanation, and it's a very valid question. That Ajnanam Bandha is very easy to understand, and because that is all schools of thought will say that. What is more tricky is why Jnanam can be Bandha. That is what is explaining. Yadi Sanhita Pathaha Tari Chaitanyam Atma Jnanam Bandha iti Ekam Sutram Shat. Then it will be only one sutra. Chaitanyam Atma Jnanam Bandham. Chaitanyam Atma Ajnanam Bandha. But it's put together as one sutra. Yadi na Sanhita Pathaha, and then if you are not doing it together as Sanhita Patha Tari, if then Yatha Nirdishtam Sutra Dvayam Syat, then we will have two sutras. Asyam Stito, if that is so, Akara Prasleshana Sahitayaha Abhava Dasayam Ajnanam Bandha. When you don't have Jnana, then you have Ajnana. When you have Jnana, you have the way out of the samsara, you will have liberation. And if you are sort of captured in a cage of ignorance, obviously that is the source of your bondage. Then, Yathasruti Jnanam Nama Sarire Atma Buddhi Atmanicha Sarira Buddhi. That Jnanam Bandha, how do you interpret it? So he's saying that Jnanam Nama, you have some knowledge, but it's not appropriate. And what is the form of that? Sarire Atma Buddhi. The body is not Atma, but then you consider your physical, the body-mind complex is yourself. Atmanicha Sarira Buddhi, then I am this body. I am is fine, but what you are adding to it, reference to this physical body. Idam adhyasatmakam jnanam bandha sansara karanam. When we have this iteratara adhyasa, as we do also in Advaita Vedanta, as Shankaracharya mentions, dharma dharmi adhyasa. and arthadhyasas. There are different kinds of adhyasas that we study there. To put it in very simple terms, so there is an iron ball and it's super hot. Okay, then you call it a fireball. The Bartulatva is a property of the iron ball. It's being now associated with fire. It's a fireball, it's a spherical fireball. The Bartulatva, the spherical nature, is an aspect, an attribute of an iron ball. It's super hot. So you are not being able to see that. Okay, so that is how you are doing that superimposition. Adhyasatmakam jnanam bandha sansara karanam. Akara paslesetu ajnanam bandha arthat bandha karanam. Obviously, if you keep that and you put both these parts of the sentences as one sutra, it's easy to understand. Ajnanam nama maya. What is that maya? Yam अघटित घटनापटीयसी अविद्या वास्तविकात् स्वरूपभूतात् परम शिव स्वरूपात् जीवात्मानं प्रत्याव्य. What is that ajnana bandha? Either jnana is inappropriate knowledge, or if you straightway take it as ajnanam, why is it causing bondage? What is the understanding? What is the meaning of this ajnana? Whether as inappropriate knowledge or as ignorance, in both ways, whether you read it as jnanam bandha or ajnanam bandha, you are meaning ajnana. You are meaning absence of adequate, appropriate understanding or knowledge. What is that? He's explaining. What is ajnanam nama? How do you define it? What is the meaning of it? So he's saying, yam aghatita ghatana patiyasi. What is not there, it is able to show that is. It's like, you have these false witnesses who are able to concoct a story and represent something completely false as true. You can do a lot of counter questioning, cross questioning. The defense lawyer might ask a lot of questions. Or sorry, the prosecution lawyer may ask a lot of questions. And because this particular witness, which is on the side of the defense lawyer, is smart enough to face all the questions, exactly give the opposite answer, which is not real, which is not appropriate. Yet this fraudulent witness gives perfectly logical, internally consistent answers. Therefore, he is able to, help the defense lawyer defeat the arguments of the prosecutor. So the sansara may not be exactly real, paramarthikatvena, essentially not real, and yet this Maya, which is Ajnana, this Maya Sakti is saying, Aghatita Ghatana Patiyasi, what hasn't happened, it's showing us that this is what is happening. This is the reality. Avidya Vastavikat, whatever is Vastavika means whatever is Bastugatatya, whatever is fundamentally not there, it will tell us it is there. And what is actually there, that Parama Shiva Tattva, that is our Swarupa. Swarupa Bhutat, which is our Swarupa, and what is it? Parama Shiva Swarupat Jivatmanam. Bhagavan Bhashyakara Shankaracharya said that I can tell you the whole truth in half a sentence. What is it? Brahma Satya Jagana Mithya Jiva Brahmiva Na Paraha. Brahma Satya, the substratum, that alone is real. Jagana Mithya, the appearance is false. Jiva Brahmiva Na Paraha. What you call the mortal being is essentially Brahman. Really? No. He's saying if you see this body mind complex as fundamentally real, you are in problem. But the Sarva Adhisthana, the substratum, which you do not see, is the Atman. And this pure consciousness permeates, and is there in all of us. And that is not different. Like space is there in all objects, and yet when you move a book, when I move my hand from here to there, the space engulfed, captured, cased in this shape of this hand is moving from here to there. Space actually doesn't move. That is what it does. Jivatmanam pratyavya. By removing the ajnana is that particular medicine, that particular mischief which removes us from our Parama Shiva Swarupa. We are the Jivatmas. Uttara Uttaram, more and more. Okay? So if a person smokes a cigarette, after a few days, one cigarette is not enough. First day, he'll smoke a little, he'll cough. Then, after a few weeks, he's on his own smoking. First, he is like a peer group pressure. He takes a couple of puffs, and then, after a few days, during college days, he picks up the habit. Then comes a time, it's raining or it's very chilly, it's snowing outside, and he looks in his almirah or wherever, or dryer or wherever, he doesn't find a single cigarette. He is ready to walk half a kilometer to go to some shop and buy a pack of cigarettes. You know, what kind of a graduation? That is what happens to all of us. He's saying, Uttarotaram Sansara Sagara Sahasra Urmi Jala Paramparashu. Sansara Sagara, the ocean of the Sansara Bhava Sagara. Sahasra Urmi. Why Sahasra? Why 1000? Millions of waves, events, experiences, emotions that we do pass through. Urmi Jala Paramparashu. One event follows another. One emotion follows another. And sometimes they are repetitive. There are minor changes. We find it interesting. God also is kind of very kind to us, isn't it? Just imagine a friend of mine who had a project in Ethiopia was saying that is the best country to be in, or if you forget about poverty and other things, because the temperature is excellent. They don't have any, they don't have very bad chilly winters, or they don't have very hot and humid summers. The temperature is all the time between 19 to 25, 30. I think most periods of the year, they have an extremely pleasant climate. But actually, if all the days are same, it's like 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Temperature is exactly 23 degrees. Lowest is about say 15, 16, and highest is 24 degrees. Whole the year, it's like that. We'll have a lot of greenery all around, but perhaps life will become boring. So God has a plan for us. He gives us summer, and then you have change of season, and then these things remind us of the changing nature of our lives. Right now we're passing through spring, and Bhagavan says, I am among the months, among the ritus, I am Kusumakaraha. I am the one who makes the whole world blossom. I am the month of spring. And then you will have autumn, which is bringing the depressing winters. Come, follow this. So we have these changing seasons. We have day and you have night, and if you look at it, our life is very repetitive with a lot of novelty, and that's how we are able to survive. We are not dying of boredom. He's saying Sansara Sagara Sahasra Urmi Jala Paramparashu Patayati. It throws us inside it. Nimajjana Unmajanam Karayati. You just go down and come up, and life goes and continues. Ataiva Uktam Malam Ajnanam Ichanti Sansara Ankura Karanam. So at the end of this whole sansara, the sansarana, birth and death, is actually ajnana, that separation from our swarupa. Therefore, he says jnanam bandha. The third verse is yoni vargaha kala shariram, that we did yesterday. That why this particular word was used, that it is maya mala. Mala is of three kinds. One is swarupa vibhranti, you forget who you are. Swatyantriya hani, you forget your independence. You have everything. It's like you have forgotten your password. You are a millionaire, but you don't know how to encash. And a lot of stories come out in newspapers once in a while. How a person had so much of money and in the form of cryptocurrencies, and he forgot his password. It's a little like that. So yoni vargaha kalasariram. The question yesterday was, why is this word yoni? Why the word varga, which is samuhatmaka? There is some reference to plurality of causes. You're absolutely right. Yoni vargaha, it refers to Mayamala. Jnanam bandhaha refers to Anavamala. And the final one, Kala Sariram, refers to Karmamala. That we have discussed yesterday. Let's try to unravel the sloka going by the Britti, how it was done by the traditional masters. So it starts like this: Maya prapanchopi bandhaha, karma malam api bandhaha, kala vyaparaha, kinchit kartitvam. So to start with, the all powerful, all doing capacity of this Paramashiva, when he sort of descends to a physical material plane to manifest, Paramashiva has no loss of powers or anything. We have that Hinamanyata, Apurnamanyata that we discussed. The Sarva Kartitva becomes Kinchit Kartitva, isn't it? That is what he's saying. And that particular thing, that Ichha Sakti, he can wish anything, can do anything, it becomes Raga, very limited interest in a couple of things. Whatever you are driven by this Trigunatmika Maya, this Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas and Sanskaras, then we are attracted to a few things and we are averse to a few other things. All this game plays out. So therefore he says, Yonayaha, you are asked that question, why Yoni Varga? That means plural. How many? Yonayaha, Saktayaha. These are the Maya Sakti of Ishvara, that Panchakritya, that becomes Panchakanchugatva, five veils, because of a kind of inversion. Your powers become your liabilities, to put it in modern language of, financial, whatever, in that lingo. It's like you invested in a few shares or debentures or bonds or anything, and these assets have now become your liabilities. You purchase some land to set up a factory or a house or a park or anything, you purchase some property, and then there's a lot of legal hassle there, and you get trapped and you have put in a lot of money, and then you are spending more money to somehow get something out of it. Why that happens? Because of that inversion, because of the interference of that role called ajnana comes in a big way. That is anavamala. One problem leads to another. The anavamala, the impurity associated with loss of understanding of who we are, now creates the impurities, the deficiencies associated with delusional perception, delusional understanding. That is the Maya Mala part. Therefore, he is saying Yonayaha Saktayaha. These are the energies. And Gyayaha, they are known like this. Chatasra Sarvakaranam. They are causative in nature. Therefore, the Yoni word is there. These are four major causes. They are referred to as Yonis. And because we are in that Saiva Darshana, it is both Sakta and Saiva. It's not only about Shiva in isolation from Shaktis, because Shiva cannot exist without Shakti and Shakti cannot exist without Shiva. In the ultimate state, you have that Shiva Shakti, Sama, you have that, Samarasata. There is an equilibrium, harmony. We are removed from that harmony, and therefore all the problems are happening. Therefore, he's saying what? And what are these four? The Brittikar says, Amba Yesta Jesta Vidha. First one is Amba. Actually, it is in a inverted manner. Raudri Bamaja Shiva Murtayaha. So these are the four Shaktis of Lord Shiva, the Supreme Paramashiva. The first, the most powerful one is actually Vama. And then you have Jesta, then you have Rodri, then you have Amba. Amba, Jesta, Vida, Rodri, Bamacha, Shiva Murtayaha. So these are the four. The Yoni Vargaha you are asking, who are these four? These are the four. And we will have a bit of discussion. So before I go into a bit of elaboration on it, let me read out what one of the key commentators has written. Kimayam bandho malatma eva na iti sutrayati yoni vargaha kalasariram. So he's saying this particular jnanam bandha, is that all? Is it the only thing that is troubling us? He says no. There's something else which follows, and that is what yoni vargaha kala sariram. And what is yonayah nama saktayah tasya chaturvidha? The name of these yonis, the causes, the four causes, which causes are imperfections, stretches it forward. So kala sariraha is about vyapara. So you have wrong desires, then you have this karma vasana, subha vasana. That is how you go forward, isn't it? And bhinna vedya prathatmaka, that is the maya mala. You are trapped in dualities. You are forgetting your universal nature. Very cryptic philosophical stuff. So he's saying, what are they? Tasha chaturvidaha. They are of four types. Imaha, these. Sarvasya vishwasya karanam. You look at the whole sansara, these four Shaktis of Lord Shiva are responsible for the spread out. How the world is laid out before us is because of these four Shaktis of Lord Shiva. He has created it. You know, the trick is here like this. When you recognize that Matri Shakti, when she's Gyata, she becomes an asset. When she's Agyata, she's a liability. She troubles because there's this whole game and you don't understand it. And we will go to the next sutra where all this will be elaborated. So I don't want to jump the queue. I'm just going slowly as per the text. Imaha sarvasya vishwasya karanam tasang namani. The name of these four yonayaha is like this. Amba, Jesta, Raudri, Bamacha. So one is Ambika, the other one is Jesta, one is Raudri, and the fourth one is Vama. Chatusropi Shiva Murtayaha, Ete Sangvargaha, Samuha Shat. So these four Shaktis, this is a kind of, it's like fourfold Maika Shakti of Lord Shiva. Earlier, we have already studied about the Panchakritya. Maya Shakti is one, but it becomes Shakti, Ananda Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. These are fivefold, manifestation, expansion of Lord's powers that we have discussed. These powers become liabilities or veils for us. They become blinding forces. These forces with which he liberates us, he protects us, they become veils. Very dangerous, isn't it? So when we are correct, just look at the divinity. So God sort of rewards and punishes us. The supreme spiritual entity, the supreme divinity, is both an angel and a devil. Depends on what we are doing and what we are up to and we are placed. The key to this whole conundrum is whether you are having your eyes open, whether you have the capacity to understand it and unravel the mystery for yourself. Chatasropi Shiva Murtayaha ete sangvargaha samuha syat samastasu kalasu etat sariram. Samastasu of these kala, kalayati is kala. So this vyapara, these energies, when they become active, it's like the kind of age you think, so you become. So, what is your physical state? Not about your physical body. It's not as simple as your physical body, but the kala sariram. So, he's saying yoni vargaha kala sariram. And there are many mystical interpretations of it. We will do that because we are going to the next sutra where all these will become, will be right before us for elaboration. The Tikakara is saying, this whole sansara, how do you make sense of this sansara? One of my friends had asked this question. I'm asking you. It's a very interesting question. What will happen to the universe if there is no language? This is a tricky question students ask each other. What happens to this whole universe if there is no language? So an intelligent student will smile and say, there'll be no sansara. There'll be no universe. Why there'll be no universe? Yeah, if there will be any universe, it has to presuppose that there is a language to describe it. Think about it. It's a very profound question. To make sense of reality, to even think about reality, there is some language. There are alphabets. So, a lot of people do not understand Ma Kali is wearing these 50 heads, isn't it? So, a lot of people get scared of it. They do not know the mystery behind it. So, these are 50 heads, these are Varnamatrikas. Each head represents one alphabet. That is how the sansara manifests in front of us. And that is the mystery behind the image of Ma Kali. And there's a lot of mystery behind it. And that's why, she's Param Brahma Swarupini. Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say, for me, she is Brahman. There's nothing beyond this. So also in Kashmiri Saivism, the Sakta tradition, she is the supreme mother, she is the supreme reality. Now he's explaining, you'll see some of this, you'll be able to make an entry. Samvasya samastasu kalasu etat sariram. Akara Akarakhyaram arabhya, starting with A. Chakara paryantaha varna samuha. Starting with A till Kya, how many letters you have? Alphabets? You have 50. Kalaha. These are these kalas. Taha sabda karanam. Any word. You want to say universe. You want to say big. You want to say small. You want to say mother, father. Okay, you're using alphabets. Mata, Pita, right? And they are made out of these alphabets. So the sarira is made out of these varnas. Yoni vargaha, you have these four powers, and then you have these 50 alphabets, and this whole universe, the whole reality is made up of words and how you construct them. Ambadi debyaha Sakti Swarupaha Kalaha to Rashmi Rupaha. So these are the mothers, four mothers, and these kalas are like the rays of those energies radiating. They are radiating the energy. These radiation takes the form of 50 alphabets. Pashu Swabhavasya Jivatmanah Etaha Savdanugamanena Tattat Pratyasya Udvasikaha Bhavanti. Pasu Swabhavasya Jivatmanah. Once the Jiva has become Pashu, and why? Because of Anavamala. He has a faulty understanding. He has that Hinamanyata, Apurnamanyata. He has forgotten about his Swatantriya. He has forgotten about his Abhedatmaka Swarupanubhuti vis-a-vis the Paramashiva, and therefore he's thinking, I'm Pashu. Once he has become Pashu, these four energies of the Paramashiva, what they do, they radiate this energy to blind him. That Pasutva Bhava gets consolidated through this process. This whole prapancha will not be prapancha without alphabets and words. These rays are radiating out of these four mothers. He's saying, Jivatmanaha savdanugamanena tattat pratyasya udbhasikaha bhavanti. Whatever thoughts, whatever feelings you have, you're making use of the alphabets and words. These are the rays radiating from these four energies. Yoni vargaha. Anena aso jivatma, this poor fellow, the jivatma, tasam kalanam bhogya rupatam prapnoti. And he becomes a victim, he's subjected to the play of these radiation. Yena pratyena asau bhogya rupatam upagataha tasmad eva tasya swabhavikam swarupam tadjanita jnana bhasena luptam bhavati. Then jnana abhasena, not jnanena, jnanabhasena. He thinks he knows. We think we know. We are trapped. That is jnana bandha. It's abhasa. It's not real jnana. That is liberating. And this is very interesting. Now, let's look at a bit of elaboration of these words, these mothers, what kind of thing they do. The main Shakti is, Vama. Like Ma Kali, she's kind of, you have Shama Kali, you have Vama Kali, you have Dakshina Kali, isn't it? So the Bama Shakti, the most important. So Vyoma Vameshwari, see Sarva Vyapaka, Vyoma Vameshwari, that is the energy that is referred to. So she sort of represents what? The transcendental awareness, Akanksha, of what? The universal consciousness, Paramashiva. She represents that. And it pervades beyond time and all three moments of this whole universe. What are these three moments? You have creation, you have sustenance, and you have destruction. The Bhameshwari rules over all these three domains. In a sense, out of these four, she is the most powerful. Okay, this Bhameshwari, the Bhama, and she is the kind of creative freedom, the Swatantra Sakti of Lord Shiva. She represents it. And when you have Shiva and a Sakti, they are in a state of divine harmony. Everything is fine, is supreme. Okay? Now manifestation starts, and then we poor Jivatmas, it's like, it's a very funny thing. And this is the mystical path where a lot of things are explained and a lot of things you have to meditate and imagine and make sense of it. There is one temple in Puri in Orissa called Shamakali. Okay. And what is the Shamakali temple? If you go there, they will always keep the whole body of the mother covered. You'll not be able to see this. You'll be able to see her maybe once, and that is in the night of Diwali, where they do a serious Kali Puja. It continues till midnight when prasad is given, maybe about 2:33. 2:30, about 2:30 will get prasad, but it starts in the evening, and there's a lot of tantric puja which goes on. And of course they will have some animal sacrifice, but they will have prasadam made specially without onion garlic for the sattvikas and for the saktas. Two kinds of prasadas are made, and there's a temple which was established by the Puri king sometimes in the 14th or 15th century, but you can check the internet to find out exact time. But what it is, she is not having a long tongue, she is ecstatic, she's smiling. You know what? It's a very, very mysterious tantric, vigraha of Shiva and Shakti. They are actually in a moment of copulation. Shiva is lying down and Shakti is on him, but they are actually in that moment of orgasm, if I can use that word, that union. So what happens then? Creation, that is the moment of creation. And whatever you ask, he grants it, because it's like you are going, just think about it. If you had the option to talk to your parents right at the moment of your conception, that physical union, think about it. So if, as if the whole creation where you are a victim because you haven't decided, you have been forced into it, is it possible that you get a chance to talk to God before you are created? It's very mysterious. You just have to meditate on it. So this Bhama Shakti is like this. So she can liberate you provided you understand her powers and you propitiate her. When she's not in that mood, you are a slave of her game. When you understand her powers, the same energy, the same Shakti becomes liberating. And that's true about all Shakta worships. Ma Kali is frightening for the one who doesn't understand who she is. And so a lot of traditional people will not take their babies to her. Oh my God, she's fiery-eyed and she's ferocious. And yet, the one who knows, she goes and finds she's so beautiful. She's so auspicious. She's Mangala Kali, Jayanti Mangala Kali. She's going to sort of shower you with love and protection, benediction. She's also punishing, isn't it? Is her form very beautiful to look at? No, it's not. It's frightening. So you have to understand these dualities. The same thing is going to give two results, two kinds of effects, depending on how we approach that truth and that mysterious, you know, supreme power of the supreme self. So that mother then is Bameshwari. So she will sort of trap the ignorant in this dualistic, diverse world through drawing his attention to diversity. And she will liberate and hold the hand of the devotee and take him towards supreme unity and universal consciousness. That is the one. Jeshta Shakti is the one who presides over the Srishti, the Sthiti part. So the Sthiti, the persistence, the sustenance part. And so what happens? For the person who is awakened, somebody who has become conscious, somebody who has opened his heart to the mother, to the Paramashiva, what she does, she is able to create in them that universal consciousness, and they are able to persist there, right? So she gives stability to your spiritual consciousness and your sadhana, or she'll trap you there. Remember both this. And then Raudri Shakti, what she does, this is about Sanghara. Okay. Now, what are the two aspects to it? She can destroy your weaknesses, anxieties, and troubles, which are a drag on your spiritual progress. Because she's Raudri, she destroys all that and liberates. Or when you're in a ajnana state, she can create multiple doubts in you, multiple anxieties in you. On a good day, when you're sitting for a meditation, you are starting a new project, there are two things that are possible. Either you are motivated, there are minor hiccups here and there and teething problems, you are able to overcome them, and you are able to hit your target, reach your destination. Or on a good day with everything going well, you have a few distractions and you have a few troubles which are emerging out of nowhere, and you are pulled down and you are not being able to reach there where you had planned to reach. Both the things are possible. That is the Raudri Shakti. And finally, the Ambika Shakti, she sort of again represents the power of consciousness. Ambika Shakti, again, you know what? She can help you maintain. Either she can, when she's in a good state, when you are awakened, when you are a right sadhaka, she'll prevent you from falling down, prevent you from a backslide, downslide. Some purva sanskara comes and interferes. Some old loan, suddenly you get a phone call and it spoils your morning. A bad, interaction, long forgotten, suddenly emerges in your mind because somebody comes and gives you a phone call early morning, and it gives you a very bad taste in your mouth because you never wanted to talk to that person again. Or it can give you a wonderful call from somebody who is very motivating, who is very angelic, and when you are trying to sort of feeling whether I can do it, no, it lifts you, uplifts you. So she's somebody who can put you down or you can uplift you. So an elevated yogi, when he's full of ego, when he forgets the secret about this mother, she can pull him down by igniting and triggering in him some lower energies, or she can prevent his downslide by helping him stabilize and ascend towards the Paramashiva Tattva. So these are the four energies. That is how this is being interpreted. Okay, so this is very interesting. Now we'll again go to that main text, because the next verse will slowly progress. We'll have more discussions tomorrow on it. The fourth sutra is Jnanadhishtanam Matrika. There was a little left about this Kalasariram. So the Kalasariram part that we were discussing, a little more here he's mentioning that. Why that? He's saying Tadrupam Mayamayam Kinchit Kartutvadyatmaka kaladi shityanta khityantaha tattva samuha tadrupam mayam. That is the mayamala. Tatha kalayati swaswarupa aveshana tattada vastu parichinnati iti kala vyaparaha. So, getting a little, this is this is the typical language in which they write. So when you're able to do anything, as we discussed it yesterday, right? So you have a kind of a reduced, restricted, limited understanding of who you are, isn't it? Then you have that kala sakti. When you're able to do anything, then first thing is that maya mala creates what in you? Maya mala creating duality and diversity and restriction and limitation. Bhed, Bedya Veda Pratha Swarupam. Okay. So first thing that you are kind of trapped in separations and distinctions and stuff like that. This particular thought pattern, in Western philosophy, they have talked about what is called fragmentation of the self. Earlier, we were simpler human beings. Imagine a farmer. Think about your grandmother. Think about your grandfather. Their life goals were much more stable. They were meaningful, interestingly. They were perhaps not as exciting as our lives are in terms of the information load we have, the knowledge we have, and the kinds of things we can do, the kind of experiences we have. But if you look at their lives, they were much more integrated. You know, we have got kind of fragmented with the fragmented consciousness. Similarly, when you have that spirituality, you're kind of more united, integrated within at that higher level. When you have that swarupa, anubhava, and you have that swarupa jnana, because of anavamala, when you have this identification of yourself with the pashu who can do a few things, not all, sees himself as insufficient, isolated, inferior, then this particular key thing, the maya mala, then what is the kind of interest you have depending on what you're understanding. One guy goes to the library and sits and studies and loves studying a philosophy book and literature book. The other one goes and fights with friends in the playground, depending on what excites you, what attracts you. So this shubha and ashubha, the choice of what's good and what is bad for you, that shreyascha preyascha of Kathopanishad. So you are pulled asunder from different directions. That is the kalayati, that is the kala shariram. That is what he's trying to say. Okay, kala shariram. Now, if we meditate on it a little further, it will appear that depending on the whole gamut of thoughts, tendencies, inclinations, all that we entertain is going to decide the shape and size and form and the material world in which we find ourselves. Isn't that a little frightening? But that's very true. A lot of these people in positive psychology and this and that, what do they say? You pick up one good idea and then try to do it a couple of times, and that becomes your habit, and then that becomes your destiny, isn't it? That is what kind of they are trying to say. And one of the ways you can escape is first to recognize the truth. The next sutra, it's an elaboration. The first three sutras that we have done so far is called Jnana Dhishtanam Matrika. He has already given a little about Yoni Vargaha. He's going to further elaborate on the Kala Shariram because you talked about those 50 alphabets and how they are the ones which expand and give us the reality that we call reality with the help of language. Jnanam Dhishtanam Matrika. The Jnanam Bandha, that I understand. But how this knowledge formation takes place in me, how there is a certain worldview which takes place in me. They have their own causal roots. Who are they? They are the mothers. So he's saying our life, the way it's unfolding, if we dig into it further, dig deeper, you'll find that the whole mystery is at the level of these Varna Matrikas. That is what he's trying to say. Jnana Dhishtanam Matrika. No? Interesting. Each alphabet then is the house, the abode of the mysterious power of Lord Shiva. And these are 50 in number. Whatever reality we are talking about will be captured in some narration, some description, and they can be traced to the root, which is an alphabet. And there he's saying that these Matru Saktiya, all that Swarupa Avarana, Swatantrihani, and then you have this imagination that you have relimited, all these ideas, all these thought processes can be traced to some kind of a description of who you are that you entertain in yourself, and they can be reduced further and traced further to these alphabets. End of the day, it's about that. So they are saying these Matrisaktis, these mothers, Varnamatrikas, they then can be actually held responsible because with their game, what role they play, you have this Swarupa Avarana, clouding of yourself. You yourself, your truth, your reality becomes invisible to you because you. The best way to understand is using that word deep fake, isn't it? A lot of things we are just misrepresenting. And I mean, as if sansar in itself wasn't enough. Now we are buying this. I haven't seen one, but I have had this kind of an artificial reality thing where you can do Ganga Darshan and you can go to Badrinath and all wearing that. But I'm hearing this Apple, you can do wonderful things just sitting where you are. Monorajya in Sanskrit earlier, you could imagine a lot of things, and now you can imagine it actively with the help of this gadget. I'm sure it's very exciting. What does it do to your consciousness? So this particular Swatantra Sakti, which clouds it, that sort of steals your autonomy, your independence, the integrity, the uniqueness, the unity of your consciousness, and then loads it with diversity, with fragmentation, with identification with restricted notions of who you are and what you can do and what you can feel and what you can aspire for. They are all sort of hiding in these Banamatrikas. So therefore, there is a sentence, Swarupa Varane Chasya Saktayah Satotothita. Swarupa Avarane. In this game of clouding, Cha Asya Saktayah, Paramashivasya Saktaysya, Satotothita, they come, you know. So if you look at it, even the French structuralists, you have these continental thought, they would start with this whole to have a reality, to have a language is to have a world. You have these great French philosophers, Foucault and Derrida and all that. They sort of mix psychoanalysis and language and linguistics and sort of try to say that what we call reality, there's nothing called reality. End of the day, these are narrations, they are constructions. So there is a deep structure, there is a superstructure, there is a sign, there is a signified, all kinds of things. There's structuralism and there is post-structuralism. This whole gamut of philosophical outpouring of creative thoughts by some great thinkers in the West. And these pure Kashmiri Saiv philosophers did all this. They'd recognize some of this long back, 10th, 9th, 12th century. Long back, at least about 1,000 years back. So what happens is that whenever you're using language, you are oriented towards the outside. You're externalizing your own reality with the help of words and different tools of language. And any key aspect of your thought is that you're capturing that unknown universal reality and segregating it, naming it, and that is how you are alienating yourself from who you are. Might sound a little mysterious, very confusing, but real. The moment we do that, you get separated. So, what happens? The consciousness per se is sarvagya. What are the qualities of it? Sarvagyatva, sarvakartitva, sarva vyapakatva. The chit sakti is all over the place. Sarvakartitva is the kriya sakti. Sarvagyatva is the jnana sakti. Punna triptitva, ananda. Ananda, that is the another kriti, that ananda sakti. And that poor thing becomes a raga. Only a few things that it is attached to. It becomes, sorry, the ananda, which is nitya, becomes kala, mortal, limited, for a few moments or minutes or hours. And then chidananda swarupatva, all this kind of gets clouded, and what you have is you become vishayana. You're oriented towards paranchikhani, as he mentioned in Upanishads. All your indriyas are inside out. They cannot see the self. They can only see things outside of you. Your eye cannot see your inner self. Your nose cannot smell the inner fragrance. The hand cannot touch and feel the inner vibration. These are all oriented outside. The sad truth about who we are. Therefore, we kind of caught up in that nut, that pasha. And then we all the time, he writes that Swarupasya Swabhavasya Achadane Cha Asya Purushasya Saktayah Brahmyadyaha Purvamukta Taha Taha Satatam Udyuktaha. So there is this one word called Brahmi Sakti. End of the day, we are talking about alphabets. And therefore, these alphabets, there is one Adhishwari Devata called Brahmi Sakti. We'll get into that, each of this. Because, like, for example, what we have this Asta Vargas. If you look at the alphabets, O Varga, like O, A, E, right? Ka Varga, Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha, Nga. Then you have Cha Varga, Cha, Cha, Ja, Ja, Nya. Then Ta, Tha, Da, Dha, Na, that is Ta Varga. Ta, Tha, Da, Dha, Na, that is Ta Varga. Then Pa, Pha, Ba, Bha, Ma, that is Pa Varga. And then Ya, Ra, that is that Ya, Ra, La, Va, Sa. So that is Ya Varga. Then Sha, Sa, Sa, Ha. So that is the Sha Varga. So all these 8 Vargas are there. 7 of these Vargas, you have the Sapta Matrika Pujas. When you do Durga Puja, they invoke all these mothers and try to please them. You have this Ashtamatrika, Saptamatrika, and then one Bhairava, something like this they're going to have. And each of these Vargas have their own Adhishtatri Devatas, and the Kavarga, which is the Adhishtatri Devata, is Brahmi or Brahmani, the consort of the creative divinity called Brahmani. That is Brahmi. So, therefore, he's mentioning, starting with Brahmi, starting from Ka to Kha, if you look at it, the Vanjana Varnas. So, starting with that, all these kind of trap us. That is what he's saying. But if we go back to the main text in the original Sanskrit, what they are trying to saying, let's look at it. He's saying Jnana Adhishtanam Matruka Akaradi Khyakarantam Matruka Rupam. No so asti pratyay loke yaha savdan gamad rite anubiddham ivam jnanam sarvam sabdena gamyate. Very powerful. You know what this person is saying? Look at that powerful insight. He's saying there's nothing, no pratyaya, there's no knowledge, there's no experience, there's nothing that you are aware of which can happen. No pratyaya is possible, no experience, no knowing is possible without the use of words. Yaha sabda anugamat rite, without use of words. Anuviddham iva jnanam sarvam savadena gamyate. So all our wisdom, all our knowledge, everything is kind of caged in words. And these words are made of varna matrikas. Therefore, he's saying jnana adhisthana matrika. All our knowledge ultimately can be traced to these alphabets. Tenasau bhogyatam yati tasam sobhibhavam yataha tasya luptam taduthena jnanabhasena sarvada. Now this is this dualistic sword, this double-edged sword, isn't it? So then, if we know the secret of the Varnamatrikas, if we know how to use the language accurately, like the NLP guys do, if we know what is the power of language and we know how to use it, then we can use it as a means to ascend to the supreme truth. So we can use philosophy either to confuse ourselves and go in an opposite direction from where you are originally from, or you can use this philosophy or this language and soul meditation to reach from where we have come. Either we can have Swarupa Prapti, or we can become Lupta Swarupa. We can forget ourselves. And this particular thing is kind of is further elaborated. For today, I'll stop here. And then when we meet on Thursday, we'll exclusively focus on the details of these matrikas, which are the adhisthana, the foundation of all that we call our knowledge. Any questions? We have a couple of minutes we can take. Yeah. Yes, Sanatji. Alphabets, can you look at, yeah? You're saying alphabets can help us to read, but can they help us to understand? Okay, now you ask yourself, to understand, how would you understand? It's not about reading and writing. Even to understand, you're going to use language to understand, isn't it? We are reading commentary. Any thought that we entertain, that we engage in, involves language. And this is a very mysterious thing. This is a secret science. There was a time where they would not discuss these texts publicly. They were kind of restricted to their own circles. Because imagine if you listen to the pujas, because we are just looking at the philosophical part of it, and some of the acharyas think that is the shortfall of over intellectualizing something which is much more integral. So they used to have this will have their applications in puja. You have bija mantras in meditations and in your everyday life. So you have mantras. End of the day, what is the power of mantras? If somebody asks you, can vibration control the physical shape of things? Say yes or no. If you have a big explosion, the window panes made of glass, they split, they break, isn't it? Right? So vibrations, the mantras have their own vibrations. These Varna matrikas have their own vibrations. And these radiations, these are like radiations. That's what they're saying. These four mothers, divine mothers, Rodri, Jeshta, Vama, and Ambika. And the radiations of them is these alphabets, Kala Sharira. And then he's saying that if you understand this, then you are much better equipped. But I'm telling you, this is not for everyday life usage. This is for the serious sadhakas who are trying to unravel the deeper secrets of what it means to ascend spiritually. For in that sadhana, they'll be making use of these Vija mantras, they'll be making use of meditation techniques and then sutras, and each sutra have a different vibration and they have their own meaning and they have their own relevance and they have their own benefits. So this is a much larger story that we are trying to deal with than what we deal with every day in our everyday lives. So that's about it, but we'll go further tomorrow in the next class. Any other question, Nileji or others, or Navaganaji? Any other questions, anyone?
No, no, thanks. Just one clarification. Suppose the pronunciation of these mantras,
Mhm.
if we do not pronounce the mantras in a correct way, so will that be any implication?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, 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 yes. That is for sure. That is why you see these upasanas. You always have to have a proper guide who gives you. And but now there is become a kind of an explosion of the knowledge system through the internet and other things, and the people to guide you online and stuff like that. But it's very important to be part of an authentic tradition. We are looking at it philosophically for having an intellectual grasp of what this whole field of knowledge is all about. We are doing Vedanta. It's just kind of a digression, because this, to my mind, is another way of looking at it, and this is much more sophisticated. That's how is the interest. But so far the mantras are concerned, there are standard mantras, standard advices, and people can tell you. Just to give you a very simple thing, Akshamala, the Rudrakya Mala. So if you're doing Chandipat or something, you have Akhya Mala. Actually, Akhya Mala is A to Kya, Akhya Mala. These 50, you know, alphabets which are there. So, this whole thing is very mysterious. And a lot of these commentators will tell you different things. Akhya Mala can also mean that because there is a particular thing which holds them together. So the mantras, obviously if you do wrong ucharanas, the meaning will also change, like uddata and anuddata. So there was a particular person who wanted to have a son who will be able to kill Indra, that Ashura was doing, and Bitraha, so somebody who can kill the Indra. And then the Devatas kind of got hold of the priest who was going to do the puja for him, and they did a switch of Anuddata, Uddata, the meaning of the word changed. So he was doing a big puja. End of the day, the mantra which was using meant that he will have a son whom Indra can easily kill. So these are very, very complicated things, but we will go further into that in our next class. So let's do the Santi mantras. We'll meet again on Thursday. Om Purnamada
नमतः
Purnamidam
पूर्णं
Purna
पूर्णा
Mudach
पूर्णमुदच्यते
Purnasya
पूर्णस्य
Purnamada
पूर्णमादाय
Purnameva
पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते
Om Shanti
ॐ
Shanti
शान्तिः
Shanti.
शान्तिः
Shri Gurubhyo
भ्यो
Namaha.
नमः
Om Tat Sat.
तस्य
So have a good day. Thank you.
प्रणम्
Pranam.